Showtime, folks.
As the demand for electricity grows, the U.S. continues to deny that there is a problem with the grid.
Long time.
It's vulnerable to a cyber attack. It's vulnerable to an electromagnetic pulse.
And God bless the United States.
And in truth, the grid is like the border, It's vulnerable to a national disaster, which happens every 150 years, and we're about due right now. They got a policy, and they don't care about the consequences. Damn the consequences, the ramifications.
These ain't opinions. These are facts.
A lot of people saw this coming, but if you spoke out, you were called a climate denier.
We have all these local grids that are connected to the national grid. Nobody takes responsibility for the grids. And California is the grid has been vulnerable for a long time before this push for electric vehicles.
Electric cars are an option, and they will get better. Musk is designing some great ones, but it's not a replacement.
It's just not.
And also, lastly, that shut up a lot of experts. Meanwhile, there were other experts who played along, and they got government grants and the media spotlight. I just question the entire premise of measuring the temperature of the planet. We just assume when they make these calculations.
The U.S. power grid is dangerously vulnerable, and while the government keeps pushing for electric vehicles, it's ignoring serious risks like cyber attacks and natural disasters. The grid is fragmented and poorly managed, similar to the broken immigration policy. Experts who warned about these issues were silenced, while others who went along got rewarded.
What? Price of Biden's student loan debt bailout just got a lot bigger. Despite the Supreme Court, and this isn't going to help taxpayers' tuition at several New England colleges, telling him no, Joe is plowing ahead with Plan B to erase loans. Now cost $90,000 per year.
What? What?
I was told I have to save because that's the only kind of sport
3-year-old fencer
my son will be able to get a scholarship for. It's crazy. Almost $500,000 per child for college. So now we have Jesse Jr. in fencing. In 1950, only 6% of the United States population had a college degree. Maybe we're more educated, but maybe not, because, it's expensive when you go to Yale or Tufts, you get a good education. But what happens, Judge? Is it worth it?
Is it really necessary?
If you pay $200,000 to get a degree from Northeastern Kentucky Rensselaer Institute, that's just a fleece job. Now, no offense, I just made up that university, but you get my point.
You put
all of these universities are just popping up everywhere, and they're just and then 4 years later, you're in a massive amount of debt, and you're probably not that much smarter. The pocketbooks of all of these people.
That's true. That's very true.
That think they need to go to college, who didn't even barely graduated from high school, and now he owns 3 Ferraris.
Yeah.
3. If you're being forced into college and you have an instinct that says, maybe I shouldn't do that, listen to your gut. I just met a guy.
Meanwhile, Biden's student loan forgiveness plan is pushing college costs even higher, and many degrees aren't worth the debt. Biden also needed help from past presidents and celebrities to raise money, while Trump effortlessly draws support. The country is facing real problems like crime and rising costs, but instead of addressing these issues, Biden's climate policies are straining the power grid even more, risking a major failure.
Moments ago, Joe Biden did a walkthrough of the DNC stage as he gears up to give his big... It's hard to believe, but just 4 weeks ago, it was Joe Biden himself who was ready to accept his party's nomination. Drops Biden's second term 19 times. Despite the backstabbing, however, Democrats and the media cannot...
We are going to blow the roof off of the United Center in terms of the praise for Joe Biden.
And what he has done, and I love that a major focus of this is going to be on democracy.
So the president will put on a brave face during tonight's address because deep inside, apparently, he remains bitter. Recent reports suggest he's harboring lingering resentment at old friends like... And while Biden tries to swallow his tongue, Kamala reportedly wants a clean break from his record. But Democratic allies are not making that easy.
A strong case for why the choice that voters made in 2020 was the right choice, the progress we've made.
The president and the vice president worked together very hard these 4 years. Made a lot of progress, but there's a lot of work left to do.
President, are you ready to pass the torch, sir? Are you ready to pass the torch, sir? I am.
Yeah. He apparently is not going to spend a lot of time on his legacy. He apparently wants to look to the future, and he will give a full endorsement to Kamala Harris.
When Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did their first joint rally together since he passed the torch to her last week in the crowd.
They just slotted out the old guy and put in the second wife. That's how it works. So far, not the best analogy when you're dealing with a party. I've heard passing the torch 4 or 5 times just in this show all day. I've heard passing the torch that let multiple cities burn to the ground. Do you think maybe we should use something else, like maybe pass the baton? Or maybe it is the right one, because this is the party that nearly burned this country to the ground, at least economically, for example. You had to wrestle this job away from him like it was car keys from a drunk. And I don't think he's the one that's... Joe Biden, the only thing he passed was gas. Might be a good thing he let go.
Joe Biden is set to deliver a speech at the DNC, but it's a bittersweet moment as he's being pushed out in favor of Kamala Harris. Despite the praise and claims of unity from Democrats, there's underlying tension. Biden reportedly feels betrayed by key figures like Obama and Pelosi, and while he's expected to pass the torch to Harris, it's clear he's not happy about it. The party's focus on passing the torch seems ironic, given that Biden's legacy is being sidelined. The whole situation feels more like a forced exit than a smooth transition, with the Democrats trying to cover up the rift within the party.
This probably didn't go the way Don Lemon expected. The washed-up former CNN anchor was shocked to find Trump voters in deep blue New Jersey. Watch this.
Trump looked like he got it in the bag right now.
4 years ago, it was a lot better. I made a lot more money than I do now.
Who do you support?
Trump.
I plead the fifth.
Trump for the win.
Who do you want?
Trump.
Why don't you like Harris?
Oh, she doesn't have any experience.
I know you feel that way, but that's not actually what the record shows. The economy is actually better under Biden. No, I'm serious.
Don Lemon got demoted and now he's Johnny.
Isn't it great, Jesse, to have a delusional Democrat being confronted with a guy telling him what his reality is?
And Johnny does a better job. He doesn't argue with these people. I don't have polls at prime time. I have Johnny. All Democrats, most of them African American, 7 out of 8 of them aren't voting for Kamala Harris. Johnny goes out and gives us a sampling. He went out today in Chicago, talked to about 8 people on the street. That right there is my poll, Jessica. I don't need another poll. That right now is an anecdote, which I'm going to take to the bank.
Which always predicts elections. Random anecdotes.
Don't say red wave.
Prices and food bans on prices. She got trashed by all of the economists and the newspapers.
Where's your red wave, Jesse?
Okay, I'm
all
done.
right, Greg.
I'm walking off the set.
Greg, you know, last week, now she's kind of morphing into, well, we have to make sure food prices
I love that she keeps learning a new phrase a week.
That we crack down on unfair mergers and acquisitions as though now monopolies are the problem. But who says she won't go back to...
I don't know if you noticed it, but this week it was return on investment.
Yes.
Remember, it was price gauging, which she employs like a child with a hammer. You have to understand that the whole return on investment gauging last week, and they said, no, it's gouging. And now it's like return on investment thing is bogus. It's what Mayor Adams used to push the debit cards for illegals. Oh, but they're going to take this, but it doesn't count the opportunity costs of the people who had that money on free money, and they're going to spend it, and it's going to go back into the economy. Return on investment. That's how it works in their bank accounts before, right? So the thing is, they pretend like this money, when used later, it will actually be worth less. So there has to be a question. Ask Kamala. One reporter could do this. Will have the same value of the money now, but because of the excess spending, what is the opportunity cost when you take money from us now? Where does this money go?
Kamala Harris's team has been caught rewriting news headlines to make them more favorable to her campaign and then promoting them through Google Ads. Even though her team defends it as providing more context, critics argue it's misleading. Meanwhile, Harris has been avoiding press conferences, which has even frustrated some in the liberal media. The conversation also highlighted how the media, tech companies, and the Democrats seem to work together. often bending the rules to their advantage.
Genocide Joe, Killer Kamala, Baby Killer Blinken, and hundreds of other war criminals.
And greeting Harris with a new nickname, Killer Kamala. Over 100,000 radical left protesters are expected to cause mayhem. For these protesters, just blocks from the convention site. And Chicago officials are encouraging the madness, allowing a 1.1-mile route, but businesses in the area aren't taking any chances, boarding up their storefronts. One of the freaks jumping on stage and grabbing the mic at a DNC welcome party. Watch this. And the Democrats are being forced to use fake names when booking hotel rooms.
Trump gave a fiery speech in North Carolina, slamming Kamala Harris for her role in the economy and inflation. He coined a new phrase, "Make America Affordable Again," and accused Harris of copying his ideas while failing to fix problems. The discussion highlighted how Harris is trying to distance herself from Biden, but Trump and his supporters aren't letting her get away with it.
Welcome to the Five. Donald Trump wrapping up a big campaign speech in the economy while in North Carolina. That's a state, Dana.
Kamala Harris touches, turns bad. She broke the border, broke our economy.
Hammering the phony who keeps copying his homework. Watch this.
We will rapidly drive prices down and make... She's doing a plan. You know, she's going to announce it this week, maybe. America affordable again. With 4 more years of Harris, your finances will never recover. They're never going to recover. She's waiting for me to announce it so she can copy it. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. Go.
I felt like this was, and you can comment or disagree with me. Oh, Dana, we have a new acronym, MA. Make America Affordable Again. You know what's interesting? That the whole thing was almost a deflation of the media's embrace of the so-called joy narrative, that he goes through all of the policies that Harris has. This is not going to be a joyful experience.
No, it's like joy is as if you ate,
pushed or been behind or somehow related to show you that
cookies for every meal. After a while, like, wow, I can't do that anymore. I need to have some meat and potatoes. Inflation number came out today. And also there were some battleground state polls that Bill Hemmer talked about today on the board. And that's what he did today. So it was ideal timing for him because the
Kamala Harris is facing criticism after a major revision in the job market revealed that nearly 1 million jobs previously reported don't actually exist. Trump quickly attacked, accusing the administration of manipulating job statistics. Critics argue that the Biden-Harris team's economic claims are misleading, and some even called their policies theft, like taxing money people haven't actually made.
You are funding a genocide! The Harris-Biden administration keeps funding money to Israel!
Everything's being fenced up. Why don't they do this when there's a threat to regular citizens? Greg, isn't it amazing how suddenly when the Democrats need protection, all of these police are on the streets?
I'm surprised nobody has called out the inherent racism of the Democrat Party. First, you're employing a wall. That's racist. In an effort to be transparent, that is racist. So when border towns want a wall, racist. Business owners plead for police protection, racist. Then you have this heavy presence of police. We know that's racist. And then you have this mandatory ID business, which is, of course, as you know, people want transparent elections, racist. But it's not racist when the Dems realize it's necessary. Was for defunding the police, but had private security. This is that times 10. It's necessary to protect their power, themselves. It's just like when Cory Bush. Does anybody tell the Democrats that the police also carry guns? Right-wing elements that they're, again, exploiting for their personal behalf. It's kind of disgusting. And that many of these police officers are white men. Right there are 2 racist dog whistles. You're right. It is infuriating that basic things people need for their own safety and security is denied them.
Anti-Israel protests are erupting in Chicago during the DNC, with some demonstrators chanting anti-Semitic slogans and calling Kamala Harris Killer Kamala. Chicago officials are allowing these protests near the convention, causing businesses to board up their storefronts. Democrats are using fake names when booking hotel rooms out of fear of being confronted.